So I think we got to do a Festool live. Let me know when we're live, because we got to fix the stick here. My 6-foot stick. We live yet? Yeah? Not yet. Oh boy. Ghost in the machine again? Ha! We're on. Oh my god. Oh my god. We did so much this week to make sure we didn't have any hiccups. We had a hiccup. Hey everybody. It's Festool Live. It's noon. It's Festool Friday. So, last week we had some major hiccups. We tried to fix it. We fixed it so we could do it, but it's not really fixed. So we just want to say, hey, thanks for watching last week. And guess what? It's fixed. I want to call out 3 people from our IT department that were here. We got Scott, we have Matt, and we have Son. And I want to thank you personally, because now we get a hard wire to the computer and we're rocking and rolling. So thanks everybody for being patient with us. Okay, I'm going to call out Big D right here. I'm going to call out C right here. I'm going to call out Brent and Trappist online, and Minnie here is on the whiteboard. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube, please. Hit the notification bell so that gives you the reminder. I always do that, so I know it's Friday. Okay, don't forget, it'll post on YouTube, but it'll also post on IG, and it'll post on Facebook right afterwards. And be patient with us on that, because sometimes if they don't post right away on those platforms, it's because I talk too much. It's because we did a pretty intense training. So it takes a little bit of time to upload. Hey, and I want to call out Malta. We see you're back with us. Sorry about the time change last week. We have a lot of people. Oh my God, Jason, you're there. Mr. Bent, thanks for tuning in. You're always great to have you with us. I'll call out everybody else in a few minutes. Keep telling us where you're from, because it's one of our favorite things that people like to know. And the way this episode came about was last week. We had been planning the MFK 700, but last week somebody asked for it. It's for us to do more on the MFK 700 router. And this week, Scott Warner, this one's for you. He wanted a training on it, so we're going to give him a killer training. Scott is one of those integral people that make Festool North America work, and we appreciate you. So if somebody wants to know why we did the MFK 700, it was to do a training for Scott. Thanks, buddy. Okay, so the way I'm going to work this is I set this room up this morning to go over a basic training of the MFK 700. But what else I did is I wanted to cover a couple of top questions that come in. We know we're going to get that question. We know you probably have that question. So bear with me. I'm going to go through the flow. This may be a little bit longer than normal. Maybe it won't. But if you have some questions that I need to run the router that Brent and Travis can't answer it, well, they could probably answer it if they were in the room with me. But if I need to run something, I'll run it for you, okay? So let's go from there. Let's get started. And I'm going to start right over here. Come over here. Well, there's going to be 2 versions of this. There's going to be one that's the set version and one that's the EBQ version. And I'll go through both of them, because you need to decide which one you want, okay? But if we come over here, and when we always did a training on the MFK 700, I would have everybody in the training open this up and go, so how does that look? And everybody goes, when they open it up, they'd go, my God, that's wicked confusing. What do all these pieces and parts go with? How do you set it up? What are they for? And then I'll say, well, look, there's a picture right here on the sustainer. And they go, that's still too wicked confusing. Okay, so let's hopefully today, my job is to take some of the confusing out of it. So let's step over here, and we're going to do a few things. We're going to run a groove on this piece of plywood. I got another piece of plywood set up. We'll run a groove. This is basically a cabinet back. Or a groove for the cabinet back. We'll trim a bunch of different edge bandings. We'll do some radius stuff if we have time. Okay, but I want to have you understand today. A lot of people look at the Festool MFK 700 and go, oh, it's a trim router. Boy, it's a heck of a lot more. Okay, you're going to understand how versatile this. I always call, when we have something like this, a system within our system. So as I step through this and I try to eliminate the confusion out of this, And I promise I'll try not to be too confusing. I'm going to set up my Vaxis as my clamp today because whenever I'm working with an MFK 700, this really speeds up the operation. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, or first thing I'm going to show you, is this is the motor that I take out. You see this? Look at this base right here. This is the vertical base, and this is the horizontal base that comes in the set. This is actually not perfectly horizontal. It produces the motor to the material at 1.5 degrees, and I'll explain why later for trimming edge banding. But what I want to do is I want to take the motor off of the vertical base like this. Okay, this is the motor. This has got a through hole to change the router bit. Okay, of course, that's the collet. I have a 6mm bit in here because we're going to run a groove with this later. But it's simple. If I spin this and I put my thumb in there like this, that goes into a hole and locks it in, so it's only a 1-wrench system. Okay, so there you go. I'm going to take that motor out. As we look at this base, some of the things that people get confused of on this base, the vertical base, is because let's look at this. Here you have a knob in your micro adjustment. Okay? To adjust the height, you loosen this knob. But on the vertical base, there's an additional knob here, and it links to this post. And that's how you adjust it. Okay? The nice thing, as I turn the base over, you're going to notice right here, and Big D, are you right here too? Okay, you're going to see where it's threaded. So this is how versatile this is. You folks know that these template guides here, we call this the lock nut, and this is the template guide itself. Well, with our system, the MFK 700, that thread matches the thread that's right there. So you can use this all day long for template work. Okay, and it's a nice, small, portable, well-powered router. 746 equals a horsepower. This is 700, so it's roughly a 1 horsepower motor. Okay, so it's quite powerful. So I just wanted to cover a couple of those things. I'll explain all the knobs here. We'll run some grooves. But what I want to do is I want to talk about this base. Let me get a piece that I've edge banded here. Let's see. Oh, right here behind me. Okay. Now I'm going to trim this edge banding. Now, in the old days, I used to use when it was like, this is 1mm maple, okay? I used to trim like this with the edge of a file and trim the banding like this, okay? And look how I'm doing this, okay? I'm using the edge of the file, and I'm going at a what? An angle like this as I trim it, okay? So I don't break into that melamine coat right there. Okay, and you see how I can take that. I'm not per se filing it, but what I'm doing is I'm cutting it at an angle. And see how that comes off just like that? But I'm going to see if we can get a better view of this. Derek, can you come in here? When I use a file like that, I have to hit it with a piece of sandpaper after. Okay, so sometimes it's a 2-step process. What I'd like to do, okay, is take the router to it. Now, I'm going to do this because this side, I don't know why, I don't know how that was cut. That's kind of chewed up. So I'm just going to grab another one because I want to show you how to set up the horizontal base. So that is why this is 1.5 degrees, because this brings that router bit that I chuck up, and I usually use this router bit, okay? And you're going to see these router bits in the catalog because this is the only router bits next to the MFK section, because there's certain dimensions, like this is really short right here, because when I chuck it up into the router, okay, it has to fit between here and here. Okay, now it is an 8mm shank bit, and yes, the MFK does accept 1/4-inch shank bits because we include a 1/4-inch collet, but I tell everybody trying to source a bit like this without a bearing is pretty difficult. Okay, so I always tell everybody, if you're looking to get a bit, just get the Festool bit that's in the catalog. Now, the other thing, and I have it on here, you're going to see on the other base right here, see it? Or the other motor, you got to take those 3mm screws out, right, Chris? With this, and it includes a wrench right here. Don't vacuum it up, okay? All right, Chris. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to put this bearing on. This comes in the MFK set, and this allows you to follow, watch, while I have that base on, you'll see how it all goes together, the front edge there. This never gums up because it only goes at one speed, your speed. Okay, and that allows you to follow that front edge. That's why we call it a follower bearing. All right, so if we look at the base, you're going to see these two holes right here, and you're going to see this locking knob. Wherever you see the locking knob, it doesn't go on here like this. It goes on here like this. See? And I'm just going to put that locking knob in all the way and tighten it up. That pin goes into the notch of that rod. Okay? There's a window here. You open it up because you see right here? That accepts this, your dust shroud, just like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, and this is, I think, this is a little bit of the confusing part of this, is how do I get this to align with this table here, because this is going to go on here like this, and that bearing's going to follow, and I'm going to trim that banding. And I always tell everybody, when you first use one of these, just take your time and learn it. And when I say learn it, do some test cuts with it. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I set the height on here. Over the years, I've learned. It's like how I set when I'm using a hand plane. I use light to set my cutter. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get something I know is dead flat. Like we'll grab this puck here, and I'm going to use light. And hopefully we can see this. I'm going to loosen this knob here, and my adjustment's right in here. Now, I'm going to show you a little hack that I do with this. This was taught to me by my buddy Keith down in Texas. You see each one of these bumps? Okay? Each one, when I go this way, see plus means deeper. See it? As I turn it, plus means deeper. I used to line these little bumps up with the knob. Okay, look, minus means I'm going to cut shallower. I'll show you through a series of test cuts. I don't do that anymore. I made a mark right here like Keith showed me to do, and I can adjust it either way, and it's easier to line up. And I adjust it, and each one of those bumps is 1/10 of a millimeter. Okay, so I use light. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my blade is close to level with that, and I'm going to take it, and hopefully you guys can see this. Okay, so I'm going to exaggerate it. Chris, see right here? Can you see this? Yep, you got it? See how there's light in there? That means that cutter is proud of the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust that right in, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak that cutter just to eyeball it again. And you know what? I'm going to do a test cut. The other thing I'm going to do is you see the bearing. I usually put it about mid-flute of the cutter. And that way there, if it gets too gummed up, I can move it down a little so I can use the whole flute. I'm going to make sure everything's tight, and let's do a test run. So, the dust extraction. Guys, remember this. When I teach routers, I always teach router safety because it's important. And always check to make sure before you put your plug-it cord on that has been cycled off. I always put the dust extraction on first. Oops, sorry. I'm going to hit you, Chris, there. And when you put a plug-it cord in, make sure it's a full quarter turn. So, let's see how I've set it up. Okay, now, I don't have to look at the bearing, okay? I know that bearing's hitting that front side, so let's look. Okay, this is the perfect example. Excuse me. Okay, that's flush, but man, I'm starting to cut into that melamine coat. And you see where I've cut deeper there and shallower there? That'll show you that angle, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take it like this, and I'm going to go shallower. So I'm going to go this direction, and I'm going to line it up. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 2/10 of a millimeter, and do another test cut. Okay. So right there, and you guys know this. Wait for it. What's your best feeler gauge? It's your fingers, right? Okay, so when I check edge banding, I don't go like this. I use my fingernail and I bring it across. And guess what? That's flush. So I'm going to run this, and then I'm going to take it a step further. Okay? So what I have there is what? That's glue residue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick scraper, Okay, this is the one we suggest with the Conturo. And look, I'm just going to scrape that glue up just like this. See, look at that. Look how perfect that is. That's why we call it the perfect edge. Look at that. Okay, it's absolutely perfectly flush. And the only thing that was left over was the glue residue. So that's the horizontal base, okay, the 1.5 degree. Now, we have an accessory, okay? So if you're doing thicker, like hardwood edge banding, and because this creates a slight angle, the 1.5, if it was a little bit thicker and you did it here on this side and this side, it would look from the edge a little bit tapered. And if you're going to notice it, that's why the 0 degree base, okay, because that actually acts like a perfect lipping planer. Okay, and you can cut up to 5/8 or just under 5/8, all right, of thickness for that. So I start to notice it when it's about 3/8 to a 1/2 inch. You'll see that taper in there. So that's why we have a 0 degree base. Woo! So there we go. That's about horizontal. Excellent. Now, see this? This is 2 millimeter edge banding. All right. Will this trim it? Absolutely. Let's do a quick trim. And I'm just going to scrape it. I always take the scraper and go at an angle. Okay, and there you go. All right, and just back and forth, and I can scrape it up nicely. Okay, but what's the situation when it comes to PVC banding? You want to put a radius on it, don't you? Okay, now what I could do is I could use this and then set up a router, another MFK with a radius bit. I want to do it all in one pass. So hear me out on this really quick. And this will help you make your decision because we hear this all the time. Listen, I'm trying to buy one MFK 700 for my Conturo to start with. Now, I can show you how to trim it, okay? And I'll ask the question. I always do. What are you going to be using a Conturo the majority of the time? 0.5 millimeter, 1 millimeter banding. Then I would get you the MFK set and use the 1.5 degree. But I'll ask the second question. Are you going to be doing a lot of PVC banding? And is it going to be like 1 millimeter to like 3 millimeter? Absolutely. I go, now you're going to want a radius. Absolutely. Then I'm going to point you into the MFK 700 EQB. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it is. I know there's a B in there somewhere. Okay. That system comes with this base. And I'm going to do my best to describe it to you. Okay, and we're going to trim some PVC banding. This is the base it comes with. Okay, yes, there's an offset. Okay, this is spring-loaded. This keeps the bearing in tension. And you have this part here, and it's actually got an angle to it. So if you're doing 45 degrees on the Conturo table, then this will work perfect for that, for the 45 degrees. But here's what we want to do. And big D, I'm going to have you zoom in here so I can talk about this bit. This, when you see this bit, okay, it is a dual purpose bit. When I say dual purpose, it trims it flush, okay, but also puts a radius. So to choose this bit, when you look at this, and I think we did this and tell me if it's reversed or not, there's some writing on here, okay? This is 2 millimeter, okay? Where it says R right here, it'll tell you what radius it is. This is a 1.5 degree. So I chose today, because this is 2 millimeter banding, I chose the 2 millimeter radius. Can you read that? Or do I need to flip it around? Good? Okay, now the other thing you're going to notice about this carbide inserts is there's 4 edges on this. So you just take a 15 millimeter Torx and you can rotate them. So when you think about it, this is 4 sharpenings in there, okay? The only thing I will suggest is when you change it, that's a 15 millimeter Torx, and it has to be a Festool screwdriver. Just kidding. Okay, never mind. Okay, so I got this chucked up, okay? I put it in. The bit's all tight and everything. I got a 2 millimeter radius on there. And yeah, there's some material on there, but we'll switch it out. Okay, so to adjust this, I'll show you how to set up a straight bit in a few minutes on the regular one. I'm going to take this off really quick, okay, because I want to adjust this cutter. So when I adjust it, let's use some light. Come on over here, Chris. Okay, we're going to take it like this, and I'm going to loosen it here and loosen it here. Now, I've already adjusted this, but you see how there's space in here, look, with the bearing and this glue puck? I'm going to adjust it so it hits the bearing. Okay, and I'm going to bring up the radius to it. You guys see that? Okay, good. Now I'm going to tighten this knob. Now, this is one of those bits that you want to, how do you say, do a few test passes. But think about this, though. If you got a ton of this stuff to do, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, you have to set it up once for the entire day, and it's good. All right, so sometimes a few of those test passes. Now, if you've ever run a flush bit on this to trim this, you know that bit gets gummed up, or that bearing, and it mars this front edge, right? Okay? So, to stop the bearing from spinning, this is what this is for. Look, it's spring-loaded. Let me get it in there so you can see it. Okay, I'm going to get it in there, and I'm going to take that. See how it's spring-loaded? I'm going to take it so it stops the bearing from spinning, and if we check this out, you'll see how the bearing's not even moving. So when I put that on the front edge, it won't mar that front edge. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to get this out of the way because I like to conserve material. And I'm going to put this one on here because I want to start with a new one so you can see it. Dust extraction is right from here. So let's hook that up. Boom, boom. How's the feed this week, everybody? A lot better than last week? I'm hoping. Okay, so when I take this, I'm going to start it right here, and I'm going to bring it in. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to look at that. And I wish we had feel-o-vision, but that is, I'm going to take it just a click down. And remember, when you do this, you've got to loosen the big knob if it's in a vertical base and this knob. And I'm going to go now a little bit deeper. So I'm going to take that and go 1, 2 clicks and see where we're at. Sometimes it's just a little bit of back and forth until I can get it dialed in. Okay, and what I'll do, because I don't want to cut in there too quick, is I'll run that and I'll do a little test area here. And I'll see, you know what? One more click down. Because if I have to scrape too much, I want to make sure that I am saving as much time as possible. Sometimes I overshoot it, and I got to go back a click. But always do a test pass. And like I said, I always like to work up to it. Make sure everything's tight. Oh boy, there we go. Now you're talking, baby. All right. So now I can come in here and check that out. Look at that. You just don't want to cut down into that melamine as I bring it across and I do that shearing cut. So there you go. And then, of course, we have this on the scraper where I can scrape a lot of that chatter off just like that. Because sometimes you do get that chatter of a bit. And then I can buff that and clean it up. And I don't know if we did that in the Contoro, but we can always do that. So that covers edge banding. And hopefully you understand which MFK you should choose because of that. Now I want to do this. I want to set up to do that groove for a back. Okay? And I'm going to set up the vertical base, but I'm going to choose an accessory over here. It's the parallel edge guide. Okay? The parallel edge guide comes with 2 rods. okay? It comes with a micro adjust. And I've taken these fences and brought them together because I wanted a straight shot. A confusing part about this is the dust extraction shroud. This is if the fences are open and you're doing a rabbet, or you got a bearing bit and you're using part of the profile. That's where you hook the dust extraction. Today we're doing a captured groove, so we're going to be using dust extraction in here. Now, I'm going to take this so you can see the micro adjust. Okay? This whole pedestal moves up and down. So as you see this, and I'm crushing my finger here, this is a very, very fine micro adjust. So what I want to do is I want to do this groove, but I want to take it down 9 millimeters. I'm going to show you how to do that. By the way, in Imperial, that's 3/8, or close to. Okay? The greatest thing about the Festool router system overall is on all our routers, this is a scribe center line. Here, look, here, here, and here. And all our routers have it, whether it's the OF1010, OF1400, OF2200, and the MFK 700. In other words, when I take those rods at a precision ground on that router motor and put them in there, I know that's dead on the center line. So when I do this, and and we do this in training, this is the back of my cabinet, right? And this is my nailer. This is the groove I have to create. Okay, and look, this is a piece of 1/4 inch stuff. I'll just use this. See that right there? So that's my 1/4 inch back. And I'm going to tell you right now, setting up to do dados and grooves is so easy with the Festool system because of center line. I just have to scribe a center line. So I scribe that center line at 21 millimeters. I'm going to deadhead these rods into the base right here, and you'll see that. How am I doing, Minnie? What is it? Clicks. What knob? This one, there's no clicking to it. Oh, 2 clicks. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Great question, everybody, or great noticing that. When I say 2 clicks, I'm talking about 2 movements of these points, these knobs. So like I did on one of the bases here, when I say 2 clicks, I do, look, I'll just loosen this up. There's 1, 2 movements of those knobs on the rod, okay? I thought there was a positive click. There's no positive click. Okay, so this is thank you, Minnie. Look, this is the micro adjust. This comes bottomed out. You always take adjustments and you bring them up about midway. So you have adjustment back and forth. Now, see how there's a hole in there? Okay, that goes on here like this into this pat right here. Okay, look, there's a little groove there. I'll put that in so you guys can see it. I've got that tight, and I'm just going to slide it in just like this. Make sure it's open. And do you notice that I'm doing all of this without the router in there? It's not top heavy. I don't have to. The bit is not in the way as I'm getting it set up to do that groove. Check this out, everybody. Look, I can just take that line and bring it right in. Now, I'm going to set it off so you can see micro adjust. What I like to do is I like to tighten these, okay, all 3 knobs, okay, because sometimes people loosen these two too much. You don't have to. I'm just going to loosen them ever so slightly, keep this one tight, and here's my micro adjust. And look how I can just take that and dial it right in. See that? And I'm kind of looking over the top. You guys catch that? Okay, look, I'm going to tighten it up. I'm pretty much ready to go to do this groove. But what do I got to do next? I'm going to show you how to set tight. I'm going to show you how to set height on the MFK. And I'm going to show you an wicked easy way. Look, see the knob? That goes to this knob right here. So what I'm going to do is take it, and I'm going to put the bit in. This is a 6 millimeter bit. This is 6 millimeter particle board. And I'm going to lock it in. Now, here we go. You loosen this knob, and let's catch this. And you loosen this knob. That's what I covered at the very beginning. All right, now, how do I know that's 9 millimeters? I'm going to show you a really expensive way. Just kidding. What is 5 plus 4? 9. Man, you're really good at metric, Chris. So what I did is I love showing people how to make their own gauge blocks. I took a 5mm and a 4mm domino, and I put a top to it. I put what I call a ceiling. So if I take this now, you know what? Should we do this against the light? Let's do it. How's this look? Okay. Let's see if you can get that. I got this loose, and I'm just going to turn it. Okay, so I can dial it in. Whoopsie, the other way, Brian. There we go, and you're going to see how, there's my 9mm. See that? I use gauge blocks to do all of that, everybody. It makes it so wicked easy. Now, here's the other thing I'll tell you. Make sure it's off. Make sure all the knobs are tight. Always double check everything on your router before you go routing. And I'll show you how to use a parallel edge guide. Boy, you guys are getting a lot in this one, huh? All right. Dust extraction. Don't forget, it's a full quarter turn when you put a plug-it cord. Make sure I'm off still. Okay, and there we go. I like to wrap my arm around the cord and the hose. Now, think about using a parallel edge guide like you're using your jointer. Okay, this is the in-feed, this is the out-feed. Where's your pressure in the beginning? In-feed, right? Look, I'm going to turn it on. Okay. And as I go, my pressure comes to my, outfeed table. That way there, it doesn't twist. And as I do that, hopefully we captured this. But I'm going to tell you right now, every speck of dust was captured with that. And look where I captured it, up here. Woo! I am looking around to make sure I have covered everything we wanted to cover. And I think I have 0 degree. We covered the EBQ base. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to... Okay, let's see. Nope, there's no plunge accessory base. That's a question. I showed all the bases for the MFK. Let's see. Is there an MFK kit with all the bases? No, there's not. So I've had this question often, and what I'll tell you is you have a set with the vertical base and the 1.5 degree base. And then you have the EBQ base. Now, I know, and I think it's still out there. You can buy that EBQ base on our ECAT system. I think it's on there. You can look at, so you know what the ECAT system is? Probably don't. That's our spare parts catalog online. So go down. Is it on there? You're shaking your head. No, go to our spare parts catalog at the Festool USA website, and you'll see that base on there, the EBQ base, but it's in the parts catalog. Okay, so that's awesome. No more questions? Excellent. Hopefully we covered it. Scott, was that okay? I'm hoping. Don't worry. If you need more, you can come down to the training center. You're only upstairs. Okay. Wow, Minnie. You have been writing like a son of a gun. Look at all those places. Okay, so let me start. Boy, I got a lot of people to call out today. We got Caldwell, Idaho. You know, Minnie, I really think you're really testing me if I know my abbreviations for states, aren't you? Okay, we got Fort Wright, Kentucky. Regina, Saskatchewan. Is that you, Martin? Okay, so Sarasota, Florida. We have Southern California, South Africa. Woo! We have Maryland. We have Epworth, UK. We have the Ukraine. We have Wiltshire, England. We have Ireland. Oh, man. I can't wait for next year. Hope that's you, Vinny. Okay, we have Ben Marshall. We have West Medford. We have Hatfield, South Dakota. We have Italy. Woohoo! We have San Diego, Sweden. How's everybody in Sweden? We have Montreal, Belgium 3 times. Yeah, baby. We have Repair Canada. Vinny, Dom, how you guys doing? We have Poland, Holland, PA. Oh, that's Pennsylvania. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, we have Paris, Hong Kong, no way, Finland, Jersey. We have West Virginia, Delaware. Hey, Delaware. We have Arizona, Malta. We love you. I know who's from Elliott, Maine. How you doing, Chris? We have the Netherlands. We have Pinehurst, North Carolina. We have Alabama. Helena. I know who that is. And we have St. Pete, Florida, and Quentin, we know it's you from Lebanon, Indiana. So, so don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We say this every time. It's because of you we are continuing doing this. This is episode, believe it or not, 31. And boy, do we have a heck of an end of the year planned for everybody. We've been like scrambling to get all kinds of content together, and boy, we have some killer content coming your way. Let's see. Next week, I think we're doing our first build, aren't we? I think we're showing you how to build a domino door. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have everything already starting to be set up for that. And I just want to tell you one thing. We love you. Thank you for tuning in. And that's a wrap, everybody. Awesome.